Hello, this is Tommy Griffin. I'm a lifelong parishioner of Grace and Holy Trinity, and I'm the father of Stella and Virginia Griffin, that you may know. And I've got a story to read to you all as part of our Easter Vigil. The story I'm going to read is called, it's a fun adaptation of Moses parting the Red Sea. It's called Part Those Waters, Moses. All right, here we go. No, it couldn't be. What was happening? One minute, I was a shepherd's staff, tall, good looking, and proud. The next thing I knew, I was writhing around on the ground in a scaly, creepy, silvery body, a snake's body, twisting and lunging, angry, flicking my out of control tongue at everything and everyone. I hissed and spat and was mad, mad, mad. I'll tell you more about that moment, but the important part is that God was using me to get the attention of my owner, Moses. And I can tell you that it worked. The day started out like any other. We were doing what shepherds and their helpers do, watching sheep, making sure that none got snatched away by lions or bears or rustlers, helping the sheep find sweet grass and clear water, enjoying the young lambs as they frolicked on the hillside. Every so often, I would pull a young lamb back from a dangerous cliff, or Moses would stick me in a stream to see how deep it was before he carried sheep across on his broad shoulders. I was, of course, on call to fight off dangerous hyenas, but since we hadn't seen any of those in many years, I didn't have to act braver than I really was. Mostly we lived amidst the quiet sounds of sheep and the simple beauty of the hillsides. So imagine our shock when Moses and I stumbled across a bush, burning for no reason at all on its own. We watched, mesmerized as the flames roared and sizzled. "Perhaps it's been struck by lightning," Moses exclaimed. Like staffs do, I stiffly shook my head. There had been no storms that day. "Perhaps someone came and set it on fire," Moses suggested. I looked around. We were totally alone. And I hadn't seen any sheep carrying matches. Maybe it spontaneously combusted. Maybe. I looked at Moses. Things do not just start burning for no reason at all. And we both knew it. This was the weirdest fire ever. The flames didn't consume the bush. About 10 feet high and 8 feet across, they roared and crackled and rumbled like an angry dinosaur, out to destroy everything in its path. But the bush was still there. Then came a voice, louder than I have ever heard before or since. "Moses! Moses! Take off your shoes, for you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your fathers and mothers, the God of Abraham and Sarah, of Isaac and Rebekah, of Jacob, Leah, and Rachel." Yikes! God was speaking out of the burning bush. Pulling his cloak over his face, Moses tried to hide. "Hey, buddy," I thought. "No use hiding. God knows you're here." "Moses," God said, "I have a job for you. I have heard my people crying in Egypt. Their suffering is overwhelming, but they shall be slaves no longer. I have come down to rescue them and bring them to a good land where they will be free." Moses knew about God's people in Egypt, for he had grown up there. He had seen God's people work in the hot sun, making bricks until they fainted. He'd seen them starved and beaten, treated like rats. Later, I would learn that Moses had killed an Egyptian who was beating one of the Israelites. That is why we were out here tending sheep. Moses had fled to the desert after killing the cruel Egyptian. "Go back to Egypt and rescue my people," said God. Tell Pharaoh to let my people go." "Who shall I say has sent me?" asked Moses. "I am who I am," said God. "Tell them I am has sent you." "But what if Pharaoh doesn't believe me?" asked Moses. What if Pharaoh doesn't believe that you ordered me to do this, and he kills me instead?" God thundered. "What is in your hand?" "Oh no, that would be me." "My staff," said Moses. "Throw it on the ground." And that's when the horrible thing happened. At my very top, I felt a flickering, buckling out from under me. My stiff staff knees disappeared. Gone were my smooth, hand-rubbed contours. I thrashed around, ravenous for food. Moses' ankles looked tasty. I slithered toward them, my tongue lashing out. "Moses, reach down and grab that snake by the tail," commanded the voice. And thank God that Moses did. As soon as Moses grabbed me, I transformed back into my sleek, upright self. "There," God said, "do that for Pharaoh, and he will know who sent you." "No," I screamed inwardly. "I would have to do this snake thing again?" Moses kept going back and forth with God. I could tell he would rather walk away. "I am not very good at talking with people," Moses said. "I get nervous and I stutter. How will I know what to say when I face Pharaoh?" Nice try, Moses, I thought, but God wasn't accepting any of Moses' excuses. You are right," said God. "You do have that stuttering problem. I will send your big brother Aaron to go with you. He is a very good talker." We headed to Egypt then, the four of us, Moses, Aaron, me, and Aaron's staff. While Moses and Aaron slept, Aaron's staff and I talked late into the night. Somehow, maybe because of my new friend, I found the strength to do what God needed. We stood in front of Pharaoh, not once, but 10 times, all four of us. Moses and Aaron told Pharaoh to release the slaves, to let God's people go. But each time, like a Bigfoot squashing a bug, Pharaoh turned them down flat. God inflicted horrible punishments on the Egyptian people, trying to get Pharaoh to change his mind. They suffered from locusts, famines, and plagues of all kinds. But Pharaoh's heart was made of rock. He refused to yield and kept demanding more and more work from the Israelites. Finally, God would not stand for Pharaoh's abuse any longer. God told Moses to get everyone ready to move, to be ready to go on 1 minute's notice. They packed their things, they grabbed food and quickly made bread. They prayed. And then God went through Egypt, killing all the firstborn males, both animals and humans, while passing over the children of Israel. Horrible cries went up as the Egyptian people realized their loss. In despair, Pharaoh agreed that Moses could finally take his people and leave. Thousands of men, women, and children lined up and began marching toward the Red Sea. Glorious freedom awaited on the other side, but I had no idea how we would get across the wide expanse of water. There were no boats, and it was much too far to swim. Yet Moses urged us on. As we reached the shore, a horrible thing happened. Pharaoh changed his mind. He wanted his slaves back and would stop at nothing to bring us all back. We could see the dust flying up across the countryside as Pharaoh's chariots thundered towards us. Ahead of us was the Red Sea, deep and cold. Behind us were Pharaoh's fury and sharp swords. Only feet from the water's edge, babies and mothers began to wail. "Moses," ordered God, "hold up your staff, and the waters will part." With a grand flourish, Moses lifted me to the sky. I never felt so strong. With the heavens above and anxious people below, I watched the waters divide, just like God said they would. Moses and I stood there all night, his arms holding me high. Our people ran across the grand path carved between two towering walls of water. As they touched land on the other side, God told Moses to put me down. Then the waters flowed over the Egyptian army, drowning them in the deluge. God's people were finally free. No longer would they be slaves. Today, like God's people, I am also free, yet to remain hidden away for safekeeping. Some say I will be brought out when Jesus returns. On that day, I will be honored to serve, for I will be serving the greatest shepherd of all. So we have a few questions to consider after reading this passage. A couple of them, such as, let's see, what does it mean to be a slave? So as you're talking with your family about this, maybe you all could talk about and describe what you feel like, what it would be like to be a slave. Why did God want the Israelites to be free? It's another question you could consider. What might it have felt like to walk across a lake bottom with walls of water surrounding you on your way to freedom? Think about how scary that must have been. I even think about images of whether you could even see fish or other water life in the wall of water. Do parts of this story make you happy? And do parts of the story make you sad? And so describe your feelings and talk about them with your family. And those were some questions for some of our younger readers. And there's a section here that asks our older readers to consider some issues as well. So the burning bush in the wilderness is a clear symbol of Moses being called to a certain vocation, or in this case, mission. In your own wild places, what clues have you seen that might indicate a particular direction for your life? Parting the waters of the Red Sea was a powerful act on God's part. Have you ever been in a situation where you feel that you were saved by God's grace? The Exodus is a pivotal point in Judeo-Christian history. Jews still celebrate Passover, commemorating that holy night when God led the Israelites out of slavery into freedom. How do you reconcile biblical references to slavery and the epistle to Philemon, which lays out God's ardent desire for his people to be free? Things to think about. Enjoyed reading to you this evening, and look forward to seeing you all at church. Thank you.